And we're starting in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to Epstein Files Review, episode 17. As always, if you're under the age of 18, we're going to have to ask you to leave because this is an 18 and up channel. And with that being said, we've got 3 million files to get through, so let's just jump right back down the rabbit hole. We're going to start with a recap of our last file, file 1600. It was this door opening to this villa here, which reads, "Please do not use this bathroom." So let's just jump right back into things. Moving right along. All right, so we got this chair in the corner. It looks like this is the opening to the main door. And you've got this little electric panel thing going on here with this seashell as a door close. Nothing too crazy to see there. Moving right along. All right, so we got the side of a bathroom here, towel rack, looks like a light. We're going to just skip past anything that isn't of any significance, but for transparency, we will be going through all files, so we do have to look at these all. Please not use this bathroom. This looks like a little shower there. And as always, thanks for all the subscriptions, all of the shares, as well on all the multiple platforms. There's that shower, as well as all of the comments. Staying engaged and not letting people forget about the Epstein files. We're not letting this one get swept under the rug. Here's a picture of a bathroom. So any files that don't have any real significance, we're just going to brush through them because we're looking for the nitty gritty here. All right, so here's the pool from the outside there, from the exterior. You got your cabanas there and these large things here. I don't know if this was for pottery or for just keeping pool equipment, but that's that. Moving right along. All right, here's another cabana here with the barn doors open on the side. We're going to do our best to not be distracted from these files, from any of the things going on, whether it's the war or gas prices. All right, there's the barn doors again, the cabana. Let's see what's going on inside there, because it's all a distraction, and we know this. Close up here of those barn doors to the cabanas. We are 10% through today's episode. All right, so this is inside the cabana. Got an air purifier over here, got a dresser, AC unit, a little closet there, a desk, basket for some disposed clothes. Looks like a normal room so far. All right, here is another look from the main door there. You've got your desk, bed, fan and air conditioner, huh? All right, moving along. All right, so we got these white rose lamps here. Got a pair of binos here for some strange reason. I don't know if they were bird watching. And of course, you've got your typical chair facing the bed, as always. All right, here's another angle from that chair. There's those binos, the Voss water as usual, little tissue box. All his properties look like hotels, tons of beds. You got some open cabinets there. I'm assuming this is the bathroom, the door right there. All right, another look at that door, side of the bed there with the desk. Got your little ottoman in front. All right, closer look at the bed there, moving right along. All right, so you've got the desk there, you've got the little cabinet, excuse me, the little closet thing for clothes, bathrobe, bathroom. Nothing too crazy. All right, another view from the other side of the bed. All right, this is from the left side of the bed facing the door. So it looks like they're just getting the layout of the land for the little St. James house from the front here, from the side of the desk. This may be a shorter episode today if they're going to be repetitive photos, but like I said, for transparency, we do have to get through all of them. Okay, so this is a picture from in front of the bed. All right, facing the door there from in front of the bathroom. Here's in front of that little closet there. Makeshift closet. All right, close look at these linens here. Got a little shirt and a little throw, maybe for a cold day. I'm assuming this was a woman's room. All right, so here's a closer look at the toiletries in the bathroom. Got some brushes there. Looks like they got some off underneath here. Kind of a resort feel. All right, so this is another look from inside the bathroom cabinet. You got a shower there, some tampons. So we were right as far as this being a woman's room. Well, we hope it was a woman's room, not a young girl's room, but we're not going to speculate. All right, another look under those cabinets there. Moving right along. All right, so here's another look from the side of the cabinets facing the shower there. All right, so this is from the bathroom looking into the main room. You can see the desk there. We are 30% through today's episode. All right, so we're back outside. This is the front of these two cabanas here. So I'm assuming each of these is kind of like its own room for, I don't know if it was just for guests. I haven't seen like a main house yet, but I'm assuming there probably is one. We'll just get there as we go. All right, so this one looks like it was being renovated. You see some equipment here and ladders. You got some paint and things like that. All right, yeah, you got lamps on the bed, so this one looks like it was being remodeled. Another look at this room here with all of these wires and lamps and chairs on the bed. All right, another look from, looks like this would be the desk side. And of course, even in this room that's, you know, discombobulated, chair still facing the bed as always. All right, here's a front view of that bed there. Some tarps over one of those closet things with little hangers. All right, close look of the bed there. They're spending a lot of time in this one cabana. All right, another close up of the bed. All right, from behind the chair, behind the door there. We are 40% through today's episode. Like I said, all the files may not be the most exciting, but we do have to get through all of them for the sake of transparency. All right, here's another look under the cabinet. You got your tampons there. All right, here's the ladder. Still looking under the cabinet. Your toilet, so they're in the bathroom. I got a little window there looking to the outside and your toiletries. I mean, there's a lot of duplicate photos in today's files. All right, here's a look in the shower and, of course, under the sink, excuse me, in those cabinets there. All right, we're back at the outside of the cabana. They opened all of the doors. You got the ocean in the background. All right, so we got a side door and some stairs right here. You can see that front area. Those are those two little pottery looking things and the pool's over there. So we're just getting our layout of the land. I'm sure we're going to know it pretty well by the time we're done, just like we did the New York house. Here's another room, same layout. You got the bed, you got the desk there, you got your lamps. I think these are, yeah, you got those white rose looking ramps, white rose looking lamps in the corner. So it seems like there's a lot more uniformity to this house than the New York one, where every room was completely different. So there's your lamps, you got a little flashlight, and of course your Voss water, another fan in the corner there. All right, here's a view from the left side of the bed. You've got these linens. It looks like it's the same linen in every room. So I don't know if like they had girls in these rooms wearing the exact same outfit. There's the robe. We got some art here, a little abstract art. It's a little different than the other rooms. All right, we are 50% through today's episode. All right, here is the front door from the chair, which of course is facing the bed. Now, Little St. James is the focus of a lot of question because this is supposedly one of the main areas a lot of the things were happening. Allegedly, like I said, we're not going to assume anything. Here's another look at that bed. But all the notable figures, Prince Andrew and all the dignitaries and, important people were coming to this island. And I could see how this would be a focal point because it's outside of the U.S. jurisdiction in international waters, so I'm assuming we're not going to assume, but we can say if there was anything illegal happening, it would be more prevalent out here on an island where there would be no one to help you versus, in New York where this other home was, where, you're in the United States and there's a further jurisdiction and penalties and things like that that could occur. All right, so here's a look at that desk. So everybody wanted the flight logs for who was on the island, and this is the decor of the actual island. This was ground zero, so this is important stuff. All right, so here's that air purifier, the chair, we got the bathroom. All these have the same exact layout, so I pretty much get the gist of it. But I'm sure they have to go through each of these cabanas, so bear with me. We're gonna see a lot of similarities. All right, so here's a view facing the door from the desk side there. Moving right along. All right. From the desk, a view of the bed there. You got your water. It looks like two flashlights. That's really weird. All these rooms have flashlights and waters and robes and throw shirts that are exactly the same. You would think if these were individual rooms, here's the desk, there would be, individual items in it that you would be able to, here's that abstract painting, that you would be able to differentiate. So this is almost like the exact opposite of the New York house. The New York house was kind of very dim, dark lighting. This one's very open and light. The New York house, every room was 100% different, down to the decor, the paint, whereas this one, everything's uniform. So here's that blouse again, and the little throw. I don't even know what you want to call that. I'm no expert on women's clothing, but this looks like something you would just throw on a windy day. All right, we are 60% through today's episode. I don't know if you want to call it an overcoat. It's a little thin for overcoat. All right, here is that bathrobe, and you've got your sink here, and they always have those brushes. This is kind of set up like a hotel. Okay, you got those cabinets again. It seems like every room has the exact same stuff. There's the bathroom, there's the sink. I want to know if all of these cabinets have tampons in them. Everybody couldn't have been on their period. All right, so here is another villa. There's another one. There's another one. So we can assume those are three villas that have the same decor. Of course, with the one being renovated and having all the stuff on the bed. Here's those barn doors open again to the side. I'm assuming we're about to go into another villa, and we are. So this one has a little bit more clothes. Got the chair, which I'm assuming is facing the bed. Let me see if any of these linens are different. You got this one here. You got some different shoes. But for the most part, the layout appears to be exactly the same. Chair facing the bed. This one's got an extra chair. Of course, you got the white rose lamp there. And I'm assuming, yep, you got your box of tissue. And there's probably a Voss water right there. Yeah, it's set up like a hotel. So I don't know if people were just coming here to do their business. There's the Voss water. And there's the flashlight and two boxes of tissue. There's your desk. Moving right along, here's another side angle of the bed. So yeah, all these rooms look the same. A lot of uniformity. There's the bathrobe, bathroom, desk. Same exact layout. Okay, we are 70% through today's episode. Here's the side view facing the door there. All right, this is a view from the bed. I'm not going to re-describe this room every time if it, looks the same. There's your closet door from the side of the bed. We're just going to keep it moving here. Like I said, we do have to get through all these files. Here's another view from behind the bed. So if there's duplicates, we got to click on them, every single file. Here's a view from the side of the desk there. If you guys see anything that I'm not seeing, or you see any difference between these rooms, be sure to put it in the comment section. Is that a hat? Got a little hat there, little lamp. But for the most part, these rooms are exactly the same. All right, view from side of the side of the bed there. And you know, these files are very pertinent. I hope everybody understands the importance of it. I know Melania just issued a statement, so people are feeling threatened by these files. Here's another view of the side of the bed. I don't know if anybody bought her speech about not being involved. And like I said, we're not going to assume, but if we see her in these files, we can come to our own determination. All right, here's some more clothes on this little closet thing, the little makeshift closet there. But everybody's issuing statements. And it's a little late. We weren't even asking, her for the statement, but she felt compelled to make one. Here's a close-up of those shoes. Got a corduroy jumper here. All right, we are 80% through today's episode. It seems like I can assume, well, I don't want to assume, but based on the items in these rooms, here's a front view of the bed. These rooms were occupied by women. I haven't really seen anything that indicates that males were staying in these rooms. There's that robe in the bathroom again. Got your brushes. Because we're only seeing female products, female clothing in these rooms. All right, there's that same setup. You got your brushes there, your combs. Here's the bathroom. Yes, this is like a hotel. This is what you would see, typical stuff you would see if you checked in a hotel. Okay, here's that staircase that we saw from that side angle from the Cabana. You got a little maintenance vehicle here and a door here. Hopefully we get to see what that leads to. All right, so we got a close-up on that door. I'm assuming we're going in there. All right, door's open. All right, so we've got a refrigerator, water cooler, and a sink. So it's giving me all the indications of a kitchen. It's got like that kitchen floor. Let's see what we got going on in there. All right, so we got a microwave, stove, little eating table here, toaster oven, some cabinets. Typical looking kitchen here. So far, it's cleaner than the New York house. Okay, you got a dishwasher, coffee machine. Yeah, just typical, tea maker, coffee machine, some cups, little dish tray there. So this is looking like your typical kitchen. I'm not seeing anything too crazy. I'm surprised we haven't seen any weird painting weird paintings or sculptures. Another view, that refrigerator there. We are 90% through today's episode. And we're flying through this episode. We're barely at 20 minutes. But like I said, I'm not going to bore you guys. If there isn't anything of significant pertinence, we're not going to waste too much time on it. All right, so here's the refrigerator. Got a side angle here. Looks like some pipes. And those lockers that we're used to seeing. There were a lot of those at the New York house. You got some shoes up there. Let's see what's in that side room if they take some pictures of it. All right, so you see a long hallway there. So this maybe runs along the side of the property underground, because based on that entrance, you wouldn't assume that it would be that long of a enclosure. All right, so we're looking from the inside out from that door there. All right, here's another look at that table, air conditioning unit above it. Nothing too crazy here. We're just getting our bearings here. All right, so there's that pipe again. Got a little trash can there. This is that long hallway. Hopefully they go down the hallway so we can see what's going on over there. All right, here's a side view of the stove. All right, here's the sink, those cups, water cooler, some dish liquid. Nothing abnormal so far. All right, another side view from the refrigerator facing the door. Of course, we got those bins there. We can't really make out the label. All right, here's the front door. Is that caution tape? What is that? I don't know what that is. Maybe this is one of those things that catches flies. I'm not sure. One of those sticky tapes. All right. This is a bathroom. Why would you need a bathroom near the kitchen? And it's got like a shower curtain. I don't know if this is a shower on the side or if this is just for privacy, but it looks like this is a sliding door. You would think you could just use the door. So maybe this is a shower. Little trash can there. And this is some pipes, probably shower pipes as far as to run the water from the kitchen and the bathroom and whatnot. And the last file of this episode, file 1700, is a side view of this bathroom. Now we're just getting started with Little St. James. I know this wasn't the most exciting or revealing of episodes, but like I said, for transparency, we do have to go through every single file, whether it's mundane or not, or it's a duplicate. That's what I promised, 3 million files. So we're going to continue to plug along. I appreciate everybody that's coming along this journey with me, and I appreciate all the likes, shares, subscriptions. Now we're getting tens of thousands of views. And if you're not subbed, we're going to be doing tens and thousands of episodes as well on these files. So you want to subscribe and hit that notification button. We want to raise awareness. We cannot let this trafficking issue go to the bedside. No pun intended. But make sure if you have any concerns or you see anything I don't see, put it in the comment section. If you have any questions, put it in the comment section. If you have any suggestions, put them in the comment section. And continue to push, awareness because a lot of people don't know how to read these files or how to navigate them. So be sure to share it on your social media. Let people know, hey, someone's actually investigating all 3 million files, whether it be your Facebook, your Twitter, your TikTok, your Instagram, your YouTube. I really appreciate all of the engagement that you guys are having. But like I said, if you haven't subscribed, make sure you subscribe because we're not going anywhere and it's going to be a lot of episodes and it helps grow the channel and it helps make people more aware of what's going on. But not to beat a dead horse, thank you guys for coming along this journey with me, and I will see you guys in the next episode, episode 18, where we will be starting from file 1700. You guys take care.